intro. I can't hear nothing.
Greetings, welcome back to another fantastic episode of Death, Taxes, and Sports Podcast. We are here on episode 151. That is right, folks. We are still here. You're still seeing our beautiful faces. My face, Ben's face. Tigny will come on shortly. Gary Legend is taking a nap because he's Gary Legend and he's an old man, but we wish him well. He'll be back on. But we're here for another episode. There's so much to talk about. I want to get Tigny involved in this recent Denver Nuggets firing, but I want to save that for her to be able to give her 2 cents. I also want to give her an opportunity to talk about her beloved Detroit Pistons. And here she is. Tigny, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh my gosh, that was like a whole episode.
Okay, all right, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen,
the queen is back. The queen is back.
God,
is back. She's here.
Up a microphone for dummies. I don't know. Sorry, Jones.
Yes, it's technology. It's technology. But how are you? How are you holding up? How is life? How's all that?
Life is lifing. Yeah. Life is lifing, but you gentlemen, I'm grateful for y'all in the conversations that we have to keep my mind off of things. My Tigers have won 5 straight. No, wait. 6 straight.
God, beating my Yankees and good grief. Like I feel
shout out today, 5-0. Thank you. Shout out to the rating Cy Young winner, Tarek Skubal. Thank you.
There we go. I always pronounce the name. I was about to say Skubal. Skubaville, Scuba Dabalowski, Scubatopolis. But anyway, congratulations on your Tigers. So happy for you. Yay. Let's get to some basketball, shall we?
Yes.
You know where we're going.
Absolutely.
Mike Malone getting
breaking news right here on DTS. Breaking news.
Yes. We could go so many different directions on this, but I will throw it out. But obviously, I want to give ladies first, and then Ben, you can give your spiel. But just overall high-level thoughts on just this. Like, I don't know where to go with this. Tigny, take it away, then Ben, jump in.
Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, with all of this that's happening right now, you got 2 grown men that more and more we are seeing the drama unfold that they did not like each other, which who knows with all these organizations in the NBA and the NHL and the MLB and the MLS, whatever that goes behind the scenes, right? There's probably a 77 to 82% chance that everything looks good up front on many of these organizations, but behind the scenes is absolutely chaos, a la Dallas Cowboys. But anyways, this seemed like, according to reports, and you sent the link to us, Jeff, that this was going on for quite some time between Mike Malone and the GM of their disdain for one another. Now, my whole thing is this, there's several things, and then I'll let Ben jump in. Number one, how long was this going on between both of them? The disdain for each other, because you're winning. You won a NBA title 2 seasons ago. When did this all of a sudden start brewing? This dislike for each other. Number one. Number two. I understand that the part of I don't. You wanted to clean house, but who is the person that started the quote unquote cancer behind all the scenes? It can't be just both people. You have a coach that has a winning record with your organization, the best it's ever been. A culture that is known for winning and a great shot at possibly making it back to the ship for the Western Conference. And you're cleaning house 3 to 4 games before the season ends. I don't understand the direction of that. I'm quite shocked about it. I know that I read that the GM, he was at the end of his contract. So both sides couldn't come to an agreement, and it's here nor there, and he decided to move on from him. But there has to be more than this to just the GM and the head coach not getting along with one another. And then I'll end with this, and I'll pass it to Ben. We are known for superstars to have removed their head coach from the sidelines. It isn't just regular players that would have their say. It is the actual superstar of the team. And there is murmurs going on about Nikola Jokic possibly having a say about Michael Malone's exit. We don't know that. It's not out there in the open. Obviously this team is focusing on the last few games of the season, and then they move on to the postseason. But I think more of this is going to come out, gentlemen, that I think is going to kind of balance out the shock of what is happening right now with this Denver Nuggets organization. But who do you get that's going to not only, bring the team together, but can actually win? And I'll end with this point. That whole Ime Udoka fiasco that happened with the Celtics a couple of seasons ago, and then Joe Mazzulla took over as the interim. And we had talked about him on this show and say, I don't know. I mean, Ime Udoka, he took this team to the finals. They did well. And then Joe Mazzulla gathered the troops around, gathered the team around, built a culture with the Boston Celtics organization. And what happened last year, we saw them hoist the trophy up and be the NBA champions. And they look like that they could be running back to the NBA finals this postseason. But this is a mess, gentlemen. This is again, we're going to find out some more NBA tea, if you will, out of this Denver Nuggets organization. Ben.
Yeah. They've made a lot of decisions since they won that I'm sure have not been popular between Jamal Murray and Jokic. They have made decisions similar to how the Oklahoma City Thunder were operating, where Denver, I was just looking it up, like the top teams are in the luxury tax by a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
The last 3 years, there were 11 million, 20 million, and 20 million this year. That ain't that much.
Yeah.
And that's the argument that they didn't pay Caldwell Pope and Bruce Brown and others. I just think that they have made, since they won a championship, which was not that long ago, we're in 2024, 2025, that was 2022, 2023 season. They were NBA champions in June of 2023. Like, that was not that long ago. It's not like 10 years ago. It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty recent. And, they've made decisions that I said it last year when they were making some of these questionable decisions. Like, if I'm Jokic, I'm Murray. I'm like, guys, what are we doing? Do we want to win multiple? Or are we just satisfied with one? Because
Mm-hmm.
they're not spending the money in order to, put themselves in the best position to succeed. And you've seen it. Their bench has significantly worsened since their championship run, and it's because they're cutting corners.
Mm-hmm.
And Russell Westbrook, to his credit, has done a lot of good for this team, but he's not, like, that was not the right, like, he has helped the team more than hurt the team, to be
Mm-hmm.
fair to him. But him as, like, your fourth best player at this stage, he should be about your seventh or eighth best player.
Mm-hmm.
At this moment. He can still contribute to a team, and I want to give him credit, he has done really well, and he's bounced back compared to like 2 years ago and his reputation and all that. So he's played really well, but at this stage, he can't be like your fourth best player. That's not good enough. It's just not going to do it. And there's too much competition in the West, and the timing is just crazy because I'm reading, Jeff, I know you sent them, but, apparently the quotes, Cold War brewing between the two. It's like, okay, well, didn't that happen? Wasn't that already happening before the season started? Now you lost 5 games in a row, which Jamal Murray missed all 5 games. Like, if you're going to do this in the season, if you're going to do it, it is before the All-Star break.
Mm-hmm.
Although it proved to be dumb with Doc Rivers, they at least did that either before the All-Star break or very close to it. The Cavaliers, way back when they got rid of David Blatt, that was definitely before the All-Star break. Like, if you're going to make an in-season coaching move, it is before the All-Star break. That's the only way, because then you got at least 40 games of the new coach to come in to make a big difference. Memphis, the new interim coach, he's going to coach maybe 10 or 11 games in the regular season, and then whatever the playoffs. Now the Nuggets coach is going to coach the final 5 game. Like, it's not going to – and if I'm just from afar, I don't understand how Jokic and Murray can be like, this was good. I like what this team's doing the last couple of years. I really like the direction. Really like what we're doing. If I'm them, I'm like, yo – get me out of here. This is not like, I'm not trying to, like, Jokic is not the person to stat pad intentionally and be on a team that's not going to win. Like, Westbrook, for as excellent as he is, some of those 3 straight years of triple doubles, averaging a triple double, which is a huge accomplishment, some of it was stat padding.
Yeah.
Jokic is not a stat padder intentionally. He just puts up numbers that fill the stats. But he's not the type of dude to just put up a bunch of stats and be happy. I mean, he's not – I just don't see, how this makes your 2 stars who you should be trying to make happy. How does any of this make them happy and want to stay? And, like, I don't get it, to be honest. And if this Cold War and this tension had been brewing for so long – do it before this season or do it before the All-Star break. This is way too late in the season to make these significant changes. And yeah, if I'm Jokic, I'm Murray. Like, if they want to win like multiple championships, it ain't happening here. It's too much going on. And like I said, the best teams, I wish I had a list of the top luxury tax teams, but being $20 million in the luxury tax is absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well,
The top teams are like 100 million in the luxury tax.
Right.
So there's several things. So one, from the salary cap perspective, I'm sure we know about the second apron. And once when you get to that second apron, it doesn't allow you to be able to use your mid-level exception to essentially be able to turn that mid-level exception into 2 contracts. Right, that's what teams have been able to do to be able to get decent guys like Bruce Brown, Jeff Greens of the world, and so getting to that. So when they won their championship, that was before this new luxury tax took shape. So it allowed them to be able to manipulate the contracts in ways that were able to get viable, bench players, like a Bruce Brown to come off the bench. But what we're starting to see here is an erosion of a team that could have won multiple titles, because I think now there's no way in hell they're going to be able to win a title. I still thought that the team that they had in current state with Joker and with Murray starting to play at the level that we've been used to, they could have gotten to a championship with this current team, because I'm still not convinced that even OKC, regardless of the type of dominating offense that they've had this year, that they were a shoo-in to make it to the NBA Finals. It is one thing to where you're not having to play the same team, 4 and beat them 4 out of 7 times, but you're playing teams in different, when they're in different runs, they're just in different states. So, regular season success doesn't necessarily equate to postseason success. And this team still has the best player in the world, and they're ruining this. And I only think it's a matter of time before Joker does become a Laker. I don't know. I'm just calling it now. I just feel something is brewing.
I saw something. Sorry to interrupt you, Jeff. I just saw something on social media by Doug Norrie. He said NBA coaches, one of the easiest ways to get fired is making or winning the finals. And he has 6 coaches that did that, were fired in the last 6 seasons. Mike Malone today, fired. Ime Udoka, we already talked about the messy situation, but he did take the Celtics to the finals. He was fired. Monty Williams, fired. Mike Budenholzer, fired. And he took the Bucks and won the championship with them. Frank Vogel fired, won a championship with the Los Angeles Lakers, and Nick Nurse fired. And they took the Toronto Raptors to the championship, and they won it. Mm-hmm. So it isn't just about these teams and coaches that have horrible losing records. Like, basically, it is anybody now. It don't matter if you took your team to back-to-back finals, or you won the title, or you've had, 5 straight years of postseason success. There is a deeper underlining going on behind the scenes that the upper offices of these NBA teams is not going to tolerate. And they want to make sure that their all-stars, their highest top tier echelon players, that culture is not going to be toxic. And they're going to do, and it seems like now we're seeing the powers that be, the GM and not the GM, but the owners and all of that are going to spend the money necessary possible to make sure that the culture is the right culture for their organization, whether it is going to shock a lot of people or not.
Yeah. And I think with that, right, is that this Mike Malone thing, I'm just surprised that they didn't choose one or the other, right? Because,
I am too.
Yeah,
it was both.
Because Ben, we talk about the bench. Mike Malone felt that, from what I follow with reporting over the last year, was that the GM felt that the rookies that they drafted were good enough to be able to produce versus the veterans that they had in their 2023 championship. And Mike Malone said, no, I don't think so. I would trust the coach. And you could see in the conference semifinals, you could see it. They were gassed because he did not trust the other guys coming off the bench. Mm-hmm. And then him not starting Christian Braun over Russell Westbrook. That was also another thing, right? So, it's, to me, it's just a very interesting thing that they would fire both. And it's just the timing of this is just very low grade to me. I don't agree with this type of move. The Memphis Grizzlies situation is a little bit different because he was a dead man walking from the beginning. Like that's not surprising at all. But this firing is going to be when we're talking.
When you have a winning resume, you have the trophy. It's right there in the case, right there at the facility.
Indeed,
you can't sit there and say that Michael Malone is hot garbage. So. He's going to go somewhere. He's going to make an immediate impact. It's going to be interesting to see where.
We'll see where it goes. Ben, any other final thoughts before we move on? We only have 40 more minutes, so I want to make sure we're covered. We could talk.
No. I say we flip over to Mr. Alexander Ovechkin.
Yeah, Alexander Ovechkin. Don't quote me on the number. How many goals does he has?
385.
Okay.
What total? 985.
985 with 3.
Okay. So, Ben, this record, man, this is to beat the great one. I mean, Wayne Gretzky in the Mount Rushmore of all of sports, I think we all can agree that if he's not up there with Serena Williams and the greats of their sport, if you're talking about one single individual great, he has MJ type of iconic status. So in hockey, so to beat that record on his career, where does this leave him? Now, mind you, only one championship. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts, Ben, and then technique.
Yeah, so I'm going to focus on the right now at first, which is this season. Mm-hmm. He's number 4 in goals scored at age 39, and the people above him have played 10 games or more than him. He's got 42 goals. The person right above him has 43. Has played Tage Thompson, has played 10 more games than him. And then right above him with 44 goals is William Nylander. He's played 15 more games than Ovechkin. So he's number 4 at age 39. And the Caps, of course, hockey is one of those sports where having the best record normally doesn't mean a championship, but they do have the best record. So he's contributed to winning. He now has, including this season, 14 seasons of 40 or more goals. And Gretzky is number 2 on that list with 12. But even more impressive to me, 30 goal seasons He's played in the NHL 20 seasons. He scored 30 goals or more 19 times. Like 30 or more goals. And that's 2 years I looked up. He played like less than 2 of the years he didn't reach it. He played 32 games randomly in 2012, 2013, and he played only 45 games in 2021. Other than that, he's been mostly healthy. That's the other thing. He's been pretty durable. But just the fact to have 30 goals or more 19 times out of 20 seasons and is insane. It's nuts. And number 2 on that list is also Gretzky with 14. Actually, no, sorry. I'm going to correct myself. Some gentleman by the wonderful name of Mike Gartner had 17 30-goal seasons. So pretty close. But still, Ovechkin with 19 out of 20 seasons is that's just insane. And I think that, he has evolved as far as kind of person to me as well, as far as maturity goes. I used to really not like him because he was just his celebrations were insane. He was just so over the top to me. And I think he's kind of grown into a more kind of humble person as well and more likable. He's much more likable than when he was younger. He was just way over the top, I feel like. And to his credit, like some people will always stay that way. I think he's made, some changes, and to me, he's become more likable. But regardless of likable or not, an incredible achievement. It's up there. You have this record, you're on the Mount Rushmore. There's no other way to say it. If you have the most goals in hockey history, you're in the top 4 of all time. Where is a good question, but he's got to be on the Mount Rushmore. I mean, it's got to be.
And take it just real quick. Like, I think that it's the level of complexity to score a goal in hockey versus scoring a point in basketball. I feel like to score a goal requires a level of hand-eye coordination and a level of just very meticulous hand-eye coordination that is so different and unique than the game of basketball or throwing touchdown passes, which I think makes it even that much more impressive. But Tigney?
I think what's really cool is that we're seeing a lot of these athletes, and I know people have focused so many years on the NFL when Tom Brady kept playing over the age of 40, Drew Brees was near 40, Brett Favre 40, Aaron Rodgers now 41. We still don't know what team is going to pick him up. And you got Ovechkin, who's 39, who'll be 40 this September. That's still playing at the high level, and you don't hear Ovechkin at the end of the season walking away anytime soon. Obviously, he's going to discuss it with his family. And that's so impressive with me, the way that he is playing. And as Ben said, the maturity grew more with age. And the wild thing about this, and I'll just be quick with it, the few games I've seen him play and, how his team just rallies around him in that one, Stanley Cup that they did win with Washington. It's so cool that everybody was cheering him on, because I was reading some reports of him actually, after they won the Stanley Cup, that he was going to ride off into the sunset until people reminded him, like, hey, if you keep going, this record seems like that we believe that you can break this. Like, we believe that, you could be up there. I mean, you've done great things. You helped us win the Stanley Cup for this organization. But I think you should be selfish in a way and go for the great ones record. And it took him a little bit of convincing to do so. And then now we are here at 895. I agree with you, Jeff, on that, because it's so cool. And I think we talked about it so many times on this show, how many different milestones. And I know that all of us, and Gary included, can talk about, great milestones that we have witnessed in our lifetime as, avid sports fans in any, major or minor league of some sort. And to see this on someone else's ice, on someone else's turf, and not at home. Can you imagine if this was at home that he would have broke the record? Oh, it would. It would have been absolutely insane. It really would have been. So I agree with Ben wholeheartedly that you got to put Alex Ovechkin in the Mount Rushmore. I would say my Mount Rushmore of hockey players: him, Bobby Orr, Mario Lemieux,
Gretzky, and Gordie Howe.
And Gretzky, or Gordie Howe.
Gordie Howe,
Gretzky.
I think he won a championship at like 47 or something, right?
Yeah.
Crazy. Like he was really Gordie Howe was up there for longevity, but
yeah. And I know people were saying, well, how can you forget about Sidney Crosby? As a Detroit Red Wings fan, we can't stand Sidney Crosby. So there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's no, all valid points, Tigney. I mean, I think that this is just such a unique one, and I'm sorry, but I think Caps are, and probably because I'm just like from the area, and like if you had to choose like the team that runs that city, like it's hard not to say the Capitals right now. Like as far as like a team that runs the DMV area, right? Like there's like the Ravens. I mean the freaking Wizards. They don't even exist right now. They gave 162 points to the Pistons to the Pacers a couple weeks ago. Like, what the heck was that about? But I digress. Like, DC right now is a Caps city at the moment, and Alexander Ovechkin is Washington DC sports, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll see what the Nationals does this season in baseball. So,
yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Nationals have some pretty up and coming prospects, but Ben, Tigney, any other thoughts before we move on to some of these other lovely topics here?
NCAA, baby.
That's where we're going.
So, Ben,
hey, Jeff, I really want to give you the floor to discuss your Duke Blue Devils and their performance on Saturday. I just want to,
oh, this is going to be great.
There, I just want to,
cozy up, kids.
We're talking about Saturday night's game, so I figured, let the Duke fan go first on the Duke game. I'm just saying, I'm looking out for you, bro.
Ben, that's such a great intro. Go ahead, Jeff.
Feel good? Does it? Do you feel good about yourself, Ben? Like, do you?
No, he was making a great intro. I think that was a great intro, a segue to go right into that.
No. So here's the thing. So I showed you guys my Final Four picks, right? Like I showed you guys. Okay, so for the record, right? Okay, for the record, I had Houston beating Duke in the Final Four. Okay, and I had Florida winning. You guys saw it, so I'm not making this up. Okay.
Yep.
I got all the Elite Eight right, by the way. But anyway, but no one. I'm just saying. But no.
Okay, Jay Bills.
When you have, but like, look, when you rely, we saw it with Calipari. Okay, when you rely on too many freshmen, these things happen. Okay, they happen. When you have a team that has like 18-year-olds going up against grown men, that makes a difference. Okay, they look shook in those instances. I kept on telling everyone, I was like, listen, if Duke was going to beat Houston, they got to blow them out. They got to be up by 20. Okay, because Houston, time and time again throughout this season, has shown a level of grit and has shown that they have the dog in them and they deserve to win that game. I cannot be mad at a team losing to a team of that quality. I would have been more disappointed if they lost to like Alabama or if they lost to like a Drake, right? You cannot be mad when your team that has 3 starting freshmen loses to a team that dominated the Big 12 and has super seniors and grown men who have AARP cards. Okay? I can't be mad at it. Duke had every chance to win. They didn't execute. Calvin Sampson in that defense, man, I'm a fan first. That was a hell of a defensive performance. And you know what?
And the thing is, too, to trust his defense in the moment when they were down by 6 with like a minute 20 left. A lot of coaches would have fouled.
Oh, they would have. Absolutely.
A lot of coaches, maybe every other coach in the whole tournament in that scenario. It was like a minute 14. He knew the clock was going to get under 40 on that defensive possession, and then down by 6. And he's like, no, Duke's not going to score. I trust my team. I trust my team defense, and I trust my team offense, and they got it done. I mean, the last minute, they outscored Duke 9-0.
But
you're not going to win any. Not going to win any game like that.
Exactly.
But Tickney, though, that reach though by
well, that was a bad call. It was a bad call.
That was a horrible call.
It was a bad.
It was a horrible call. These
But
referees in these important games. When as soon as I sent you that message about, oh my gosh, they're letting them play. This is a physical game. They know, there shouldn't have been some of the fouls called. Yeah, maybe so, but they're just letting them play. And the whistles were swallowed for a majority of the game, and then all of a sudden, that one.
I saw something real though that Duke's 4 losses, I believe 4 losses. Cooper Flagg had a turnover or missed shot in the last minute of every single game.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he's not going to be a great pro. He probably will be the number 1 pick easily. But we can only go by what the resume is right now. Right now, your resume in the absolute biggest moments. I don't want to use the word choke. I'm not going to use that word, but
you could say
it. You didn't meet the expectations of a number 1 overall pick. You didn't win any of those games. So
3 losses.
What's that?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I literally saw every Duke game. Okay, there have been every loss that he's had when they gave him the ball. The game against Kentucky, turned the ball over. This one. So there are questions about his clutch gene.
Yeah, is he like the front runner? The front runner is going to score 30 and the team wins by 30. But when it's close and you need him, he doesn't come through. Because I mean, yes, that was a bad foul call, but Duke said, "You're our best player. Go 1-on-1." He had a shot and it hit the rim, but it was front rimmed. It wasn't even close, to be honest. Not like
I think what we saw is these teams that had big leads and they got a little bit comfortable and they got a little bit laxed. I mean, we saw it with Duke, who had that lead, and then we saw the lead, go away. And then Houston, I know we're going to talk about the final game, but you had a 12-point lead over Florida.
Yeah.
And just sloppy ball handling, fouls, missed free throws, the layups, for the love of God. Just so many factors that just did not fall their way.
Marisa, since you went there, I'm just going to piggyback and go to the national championship game. One thing that stood out to me when I was looking at it is Walter Clayton Jr., excellent up until the national championship game, right? But when you're struggling offensively, you can help your team in other ways. I thought his defense was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
Not only on that last possession, just overall, he was amazing defensively. He had 7 assists in that game, and Houston's team had 5, which was also part of the story. The Florida Gators had 14 assists on 21 field goals.
What is it, Ben?
Houston had 5 assists on 24 field goals.
That's wild. It's in your numbers too. Didn't they only led for 65 seconds?
Yeah, something
the
like
whole
that.
Game.
Which
65 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last 2 I wrote this down too, because I wrote down Florida defense in all caps because they out defense the best defense. But to the the final 2:05 of that game, Florida scored 3 points. Houston scored 0. It wasn't this massive offensive run at the end of the game. Florida's defense, especially in that last 5 to 10 minutes, but I wrote down like Florida defense in all caps because they were amazing defensively, especially in the second half. And
the clutch point.
Clayton Jr. credit. He struggled offensively, but he made a big difference.
The defense, and he stayed focused. He had an off night. He never, ever in any game whatsoever had never scored no points in the first half. Unfortunately, he didn't score any points in the first half. But boy, did he come up clutch. And that moment when he went up for that layup and was fouled and won, to me, that was the turning point because that tied the game.
The 3-pointer too in the championship game.
Yes.
3-pointer. Yep. He still made an impact even on the offensive end. The last, I wrote it down too. I think sorry to bore you guys' stats, but the last 3 minutes he scored 9 points. So
I'm gonna call you Stats Holloway.
Yeah, Stats Holloway. I like that.
Stats Holloway. There we go. Stats. There we go.
I like that.
But yeah, that's all I got for the national championship game. So Jeff, go ahead, take it away on last night's game.
Yeah. Last night's game was probably one of those quintessential classic games that we haven't had in a very long time. I think that as a fan, I'm sure we can all agree, we're all sports fans first, loyalty to team second, right? We love a good matchup. We love a good storyline. You look at Calvin Sampson, who's 69. You look at the other coach, whose name I can't remember, looks like a middle school principal, 39.
Golden.
Al
Golden is his last name. Middle school.
He looks like a middle school principal. What do you want me to say? He looks like you're.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. I mean,
he looks like a nerd, but I'm happy for him. To go to two, we're talking about Calvin Sampson, who coached at Oklahoma, who lost to Carmelo Anthony in the 2003, I think, Elite Eight or Final Four, a man that has been around for so long and is in the Hall of Fame or will be in the Hall of Fame, and will go down as probably one of the top 50 coaches of all time, even if he never wins a title. This man has had long staying power. And for Florida, the fact that Houston shot themselves out this game. That's what I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. They shot themselves out this because they didn't slow the pace of play down, and they were jacking up threes way too much at too fast of a clip. They needed to slow the game down because Clayton Jr. was not going to stay out for so long. And I think that it was more of Houston shooting themselves out this game versus Florida executing. That's my thought.
Yeah, and I also say that, Houston, as great a program as they have, and Calvin Sampson, as great a coach as he is, they're not going to get like the Cooper Flack. They're not going to get the big stars. And the reason I say that is they've had obviously incredible success, but when you saw it last night, when the play and then option B on the play, if A and B break down, they look awful. They don't have that one guy that can just consistently beat one-on-one coverage. When they don't have an answer when their first one or two options specific to one play, not even the whole game or just on a play call, out of the timeout specifically, Florida scored all the time. Houston didn't score, pretty much out of the timeouts. And it's just once it breaks down, they go panic mode. How many times did we see the clock under 10, under 5, and they were still on the perimeter? They had nothing going the entire possession. And that's partially Florida's defense, but also I think Houston is just missing that playmaker. You need a dude that can get you a bucket when you need it. They don't have it.
Well, they do have the number 2 recruiting class coming in this year, so we'll see what that looks like. But I don't know. But go ahead, Tiffany.
I was going to say real quick, this is the most successful viewed Final Four and championship weekend. Real quick with numbers, Monday's national championship game averaged 18.1 million viewers on CBS, which is up 22% and the most watched since 2019. The Florida-Houston game peaked with 21.1 million viewers for the game's conclusion. Final Four weekend averaged 16.4 million viewers for the 3 games, up 21%, and the best that has been in 8 years. In tournament viewership across TBS, CBS, TNT, and True TV averaged 10.2 million viewers, up 3%. People, ladies and gentlemen, this is why your Amazon Prime and your Netflix and Hulu is now trying to throw their hat into the ring for all of this. Why? Because numbers matter. And side note, the NIT was very successful, and the inauguration of the Crown Championship that I caught a few games as far as that. People were having mixed reviews about that basically was like the NIL tournament. Let's be abundantly clear, because Nebraska ended up winning it, and they won $300,000 for that. And pay more to the women. Thank you. The Crown Championship had 18.7 million views in its inauguration. So very, very much a very successful weekend in hoop.
You know, And I think that, like, to that point, because of NIL, and, you know, we talked about it in the group chat, like, you look at all the 16 teams that made it, all of them are top D1 schools. People want to see the bigger schools. They want to see the bigger programs. The Cinderellas are nice, but at the end of the day, like, they want to see the blue blood programs. They want to see the Kentuckys. They want to see the North Carolinas. And that's going to just continue to improve the viewership overall. But we are getting low in time. Are there any other thoughts on this national championship game on Houston or anything before we move to the NCAA title game?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if Tigney, well, we talked a lot about the men's. Let's talk about the women's. And
your thoughts.
I loved it.
Let's talk about the women's. Go ahead. Have the floor.
I absolutely loved it. The few points that I will make out of all of this is shout out to TCU and them making it to the Elite Eight for the first time in program history, let alone the Sweet 16 for the first time in program history. I need every single hater to owe an apology, a fruit basket, and a bunch of flowers of a lifetime for Haley Van Lith. The girl can play, period. There should be no hate whatsoever. Yes, she went to 3 different programs from Louisville to LSU to TCU and made TCU very successful. And now, you know, you got Olivia Miles getting ready to go there from Notre Dame into TCU, which is going to be very interesting to see. I'm excited to see how she's going to be, introduced into what has been very successful for TCU and see if they can run it back, if not further. UConn. If you looked at this team and you gave them a number 2 seed, it is very deceptive. And they proved it to be so, because for their star Paige Beckers to come back from a devastating ACL injury and just play out of her mind. You have a freshman, Sarah Strong, playing out of her mind. KK Arnold, Azzy Fudd. This team gave no Fs, and they did not care who was a seed above them. And they played like they were in the they played literally like they were WNBA ready now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you got to give hats off to Gino Auriemma, because the man knows how to win. And yes, they had a little bit of a drought, but I have not seen a complete UConn team since the Stewie years. Breanna Stewart, literally, I have not. I mean, there has been some talent. Please don't get me wrong. Between the last championship, Breanna Stewart won, and I can't, you know, the year is not coming to me. What is it?
2016.
2016. Okay, so you have 2016 to 2025. And yes, there's some talent that came out during that time of UConn, but they did not have that kind of complete team that we were able to witness with Breanna Stewart and those ladies that we did during this tournament with the ladies that I just mentioned of UConn. South Carolina played UConn during the regular season, and I felt, in my humblest opinion, I said it on my post, if South Carolina falls behind to this UConn team that can shoot literally from anywhere on the court, they're going to have a long day and they are not going to win this game. South Carolina held the lead for 6-7 minutes? Mm-hmm. And that was all she wrote. And at halftime, I put a post up. I said, you can give UConn the title now. And all these people were coming at me saying, the game is not over yet until 0-0. No, the game is over because the ladies on UConn were prepared and they were ready, and they knew, and they could not miss off of that floor. They had some little bitty turnovers and they, had some issues with a few layups and all that. And they did get sloppy in the first quarter and a little bit in the third quarter, but it didn't matter because UConn had much of a cushion. I mean, to shut down Tahina Pau, to shut down Chloe Kitts, got bullied under the net. Like, literally, she turned over the ball so many times, and then her layups were going back behind the hoop. Malaysia Fulwiley, usually who is their secret weapon off of the bench, she did have some moments, but literally UConn was like, their lead was massive by then. It was like close to 20 points by then. And so, and then, camera, of course, panned to Coach Staley, who was just getting frustrated because she was looking at this team like, who are y'all? Like, what is going on? Why are we not connecting? Why are we making silly fouls? Why are we not making our easy shots? Why are we not making free throws? Why are we not playing defense? And those were the little factors that basically took the brilliance of UConn, took South Carolina out of their game early, and then just continued with what they had. So I loved that moment for Paige Beckers, who's going to be the #1 draft pick in the WNBA coming Monday. Make no mistake about that, 100%. And if I was any of these teams going into the next season, I'd be very concerned about UConn possibly running it back, because they are locked and loaded. Again, Sarah Strong is a freshman. KK Arnold is going to be back. As Fudd has mentioned, even though she's, I believe, a graduate student, she mentioned she was going to be back because the collective bargaining agreement next year for these women, they're actually going to get more money. So there's a lot of star players on the ladies' side of things that are transferring, that are not jumping into the WNBA as of yet, because, keep your eyes next season, gentlemen and audience, of the collective bargaining agreement for women's basketball. There's going to be some big things that are going to be happening, and finally, the pay scale will favor these women that deserve to be paid. And we saw that with Unrivaled this past season, the inauguration of Unrivaled, and how much money that, some of these ladies made during that tournament. So that spoke volumes. This was a great tournament to me. I'm very happy about the outcome, of what happened. UConn got their 12th title. Congratulations to them. But again, women's basketball is here to stay, ladies and gentlemen, whether you want to critique it or not. It's going to continue to elevate, and it continues to get better. And prayers going out to Juju Watkins. I know that she is going to, if the road to recovery is now, and her getting all the accolades and awards, and Naismith Player of the Year, well deserved. And she'll come back stronger than ever. And then we'll see her come out in 2020. Was it 25, 26, possibly 2027? So she's got a lot of basketball ahead of her.
Definitely. And I think with the way modern medicine is, a torn ACL, it's not like,
we saw it with Paige Beckers.
Yeah.
What a year makes.
Yeah.
And then, she was able to cap off and end her career at UConn as a national champion.
And with the South Carolina team, South Carolina was able to get away with a lot this year because of their depth. And I think their depth hurt them to a fault. Because when you're playing with 10 players, normally you play with 7 or 8, because you have players, the more they play, the more of a rhythm that they get. And when you're playing with 10 or to 11, at times from a rhythm perspective, it could be at your detriment. Mm-hmm. When the type of SC team that we've had, this has not been your prototypical South Carolina team. The 3 national championships that they've had, they've always had a dominating big in the post. Whether you had 2017 with Asia Wilson, whether in 2022 you had Aaliyah Boston, last year you had Cordoza. No disrespect to Chloe Kitts, but she wasn't that type of intimidating in the presence or in the post that you normally would have in a traditional South Carolina.
And it showed. And it absolutely showed.
Exactly. And then now you're relying on Raven Johnson to run the point and being able to provide some type of scoring. But they didn't have that this year versus what they've had last year. Mm-hmm. Now they're going to have the top leading scorer in NCAA last year, transferring from Florida State to South Carolina. So that's the first piece. 2, there's a young lady from Notre Dame that became that 6'5" that is going into the transfer portal. I'm pretty sure she's going to go to South Carolina. So with the complementary pieces being able to come back, on top of having a good post player, on top of having a good scorer that could take over the game, I think South Carolina is going to be back with a vengeance. I think that this team's shooting was absolutely horrific, and they could not make the open shots. Mm-hmm. They did a lot of good running the posts and being able to create offense, but not being able to capitalize was very uncharacteristic. The
second chance points. That means UConn was not perfect. Don't get me, please don't think that, they had a flawless victory, because this game was slow on both fronts because it was just, easy missed layups, missed threes, turnovers that were just ridiculous. But South Carolina could not capitalize on them. But they do have a transfer coming in from Florida State, Tanaya Latson.
Okay.
Yes. That is a big addition to South Carolina that they're going to definitely utilize her in that starting lineup next season.
Definitely. Ben, your thoughts?
So there's been 2 teams in NCAA tournament history, men's and women's, to defeat 3 number 1 seeds in the same tournament. 1997 Arizona Wildcats on the men's side, and your 2025 UConn women's team to beat 3 number 1 seeds in an NCAA tournament. Their run was dominant. Average margin of victory in the tournament was 33 points per game, and against the number 1 seeds, it wasn't much closer. Their average margin of victory against the number 1 seeds was 24. So they, like, beast mode doesn't fit a team better in 2025 than UConn this year. And to your point on Sarah Strong, she had 15 rebounds on Sunday. The next best player, highest was 6.
Mm-hmm.
She had 9 more rebounds than anybody else in that game to go along with the 24 points. So, yeah, that UConn was dominant, and yeah, that's
I think they said that in the first half, her, Beckers, and Fudd had 26 or 29 of the 39 points that because they were leading South Carolina by 10 at that time. Mm-hmm. Them 3 alone.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So yeah, I mean, we can get to this, but I do have to jump and do in a couple of minutes, but I do want to get to this Warriors Lakers real quick because I think this is a very good question. Warriors or Lakers, who has the best chance to make the NBA Finals? Neither of their teams because their interior defense is trash. But for the sake of actually answering the question, I'm going to go with the Lakers just because I trust Luka if he's healthy and if he's locked in. I've seen him literally being able to carry underwhelming teams to the NBA Finals, but I'm not saying that by much over the Warriors. I feel like the media goes with this. The Lakers they win a couple games. Oh, or they have a threat, or they're a threat. They lose a game. Oh no, the world's coming to an end. Like what are we doing? But for the sake of that, yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. But you guys.
I'll be quick. The Warriors by a slim margin because of defense, but I wrote in capital letters, Luka and LeBron healthy is a problem.
I agree. Yeah. But I will say this on the side note. Tomorrow, the Lakers come here at Dallas.
Oh, yeah, you're going to that. Yeah.
That's going to be a good one. I'm actually going to, unfortunately, miss it. I got some people that are going to see that because I got some things that are happening tomorrow. But, yeah, the city of Dallas is going to be an emotional one. So think of us at this time. Prayers, sorrows.
Yeah, that one's gonna be. Yeah, I still cannot believe that shit. Like that's a franchise killer. I don't even know.
That is in a very, very early stages, but that, and not to say it's going to be 86 years, but that has the possibility to be like the Babe Ruth trade.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yep.
Like that is a superstar in your prime, and yeah.
But well, I think that sounds like we're going to wrap it here, folks.
One last thing. I know we got to run. We talked about the Nuggets a lot, rightfully so, and I'm just going to throw this in there. Nobody has ever been top 10 for the season in points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, steals per game. Nobody in the top 10. He's in the Nikola Jokic is in the top 3 of those 4 categories.
Whoa.
The head coach is the problem.
No one has been in the top 10 of all 4, and he about to be in the top 3 in all 4.
It's crazy. That's a crazy
stat. That's insane.
That's a wild stat.
Just had to like.
Stats Holloway for you. Stats Holloway, everybody. Stats freaking Holloway. But guys, the Stats Holloway. That's what you're going to be called.
Stats Holloway, ladies and gentlemen. Stats Holloway.
That's how you end it right there.
Like, there we go.
Insane.
Well, folks, We appreciate it. We love to stay on longer, but we have lives and other things to achieve. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back. I don't know.
Go get that sweep, Detroit.
Yes, but we'll be
Go
back.
Tigers.
NFL draft. We'll talk more stuff. And the Broncos on the way to the Broncos going for their 4th Super Bowl and 17-0. Lakers in 5. All right, guys. Peace and love.
Okay, Shannon.
Later. Peace.